Hello, this is Grandmaster Ted Gambordella, and these are some lectures on Oriental philosophy. Remember the Japanese gymnast in the 1976 Summer Olympics who performed on the rings with a broken knee? The commentator and the audience were awed by his performance, and rightfully so. The man landed on a broken knee from a height of 14 feet after performing a strenuous gymnastics routine. As I recall, the commenters contributed this to his mind control. However, a Westerner chooses to describe how this talented athlete did the seemingly impossible. He did not achieve this feat by possessing a positive mental attitude. It would be possible to overcome the pain with mind control, but to land hard on a broken leg without collapsing requires more than changing the picture of pain you can hold in your mind to a positive feeling. That feat requires an extensive control of the body as well, and that requires the understanding and the manipulation of your ki, or chi. This book and these videos will teach the average American the Oriental principles and techniques for manipulating the chi in his or her body for their own good. The techniques have been used for thousands of years to empower Oriental warriors to control their minds and dominate their wills. From this comes the ability to control their physical activities, which allows them to rule their destinies. And the best, most unique thing about this is that you don't have to believe that it works in order for it to be effective. As long as you do the simple exercises, the secrets will be revealed to you. No matter how skeptical you are, each of us has a tremendously powerful mind, which none of us use to our full capacity. While the West emphasizes material aspects of life, the Orientals spent thousands of years delving into the mysteries of the mind and the spiritual aspects. Most of us see the results of the Western emphasis in sorrow and frustration as we and our friends fail to achieve our goals or fulfill our potential. And why is this true? Because we have been taught no way of controlling our minds, and so we have never subordinated our wills. No one has ever trained us in the techniques to control our thoughts, and more importantly, to direct these thoughts towards the positive actions required to achieve success in our lives. The mastery of these attributes escapes most of us because we have not learned to control our mind. Time after time, self-help seminars promote positive thinking books. We are told that the thoughts are things and that we have the ability to use our thoughts to make us happy, sad, successful, or not. The world is not what matters. It's what matters what others will tell us. The world is what we perceive it to be. For it is those perceptions that spur us into action or inaction. In our minds is the real world, and these thoughts and our interpretation of these thoughts are the only real things there really are. So as the proponents of positive mental attitude, or PMA, tell us all along, we create our world, and we can create it however we want. We can make it happy, sad, prosperous, poverty, sickness, indifference. Nevertheless, most of us seem to encounter a world that often seems totally negative, and we find it impossible to remain positive. What are we supposed to do in such a situation? The positive thinkers out there would have us to believe that we only need to change our attitude in order to make the world right. This approach is truth, but it does not go far enough. Attitudes and feelings are the same thing. They mean nothing, neither positive or negative, if action is not taken to achieve them. I'm not belittling PMA or goal setting or any of the Western self-help techniques. They all work if you believe them, but more importantly, if you do them. And the problem is most people don't do them because they don't believe that saying, I feel great, I feel powerful, over and over again will actually make them great and powerful. This skepticism stands between most people and the results they want to get from positive mental attitude. The ability to control your ki, which you will learn in this book and in these videos, has nothing to do with whether or not you believe that ki exists or believe that controlling it will allow you to produce miracles in your life. Awareness and control of your ki enables you to control your mind so that you will do the things that will make you successful. You will stop your internal dialogue and start getting results. Orientals learned centuries ago that feelings can be controlled and actions can be performed regardless of feelings. Think about it. Successful people don't always feel good. They have bad days just like everyone else. Yet successful people are the few who continue to perform no matter how they feel, good or bad. When their minds say, your leg is injured, they respond, thank you for the information. This is the Olympics. You'll notice I'm mounting the rings right now. And they go through their routine. They achieve their desired results. They allow their wills to control their minds, not their mind control their will. So having a positive mental attitude is great, but it will not change your destiny, because an attitude is a feeling, and feelings are subject to influence of internal and external events and states of mind. In these books and in these videos, you will learn how to control what you think, to cause your brain to think thoughts that you want to think. And that is the point. You will have developed your ki to such an extent that you can control your physical activity. Ki is an Oriental term that refers to a force that prevails at everything and in every endeavor a person might be called upon to do. The practice of 3 distinct techniques controls the thoughts. When you have practiced these techniques for sufficient time, you will know how to control your ki, and you will be able to control your mind. These techniques revolve around 3 things: the mental, the physical, and the breath. You will learn to use all 3 aspects to develop the ki in your daily life. You will learn physical exercises, not weight training, to develop coordination between your mind and your body. You will be trained in mental exercises that will cause you to think about ideas and questions you might never have considered before, as well as to observe your thoughts and the thought patterns that cause them. In this way, you can learn to control them. Finally, you will learn breathing techniques that will enable you to learn to still your mind, control your thoughts so that you may direct them towards your goals and your desired results. I know you might be skeptical, and I know that these techniques will work for you. I've seen it work in my own life and in the lives of thousands of people I have taught. If you are a runner, you may have already had this power demonstrated to you. Think of the internal dialogue that continually rumbles through your head as you begin running and keep running. After you've run for a while, you get control of your breath, and in a certain rhythm, you keep running, and all the while your mind starts telling you, stop, stop, stop. And until at some point you break through the pain and you are just running or jogging without any voices in your head telling you you have to stop. This is an effect of controlling your mind through breathing and physical activity, which is a direct result of controlling your ki. As you practice these techniques and exercises, you will begin to feel a power growing about 2 inches below your navel. This is where your ki is stored, about 2 inches below your navel. You will also begin to feel a power in your mind, and it will feel like your mind is growing in size and strength as you learn to direct all your thoughts towards one specific goal or desire. And finally, you will feel a spirit growing in your life, the spirit of success, the spirit which you will receive if you do the exercises in this book and on these videos will empower you to achieve your goals and desired dreams. What makes this book different is that it is the only book in the world that teaches mind control using ki techniques. This will enable you to control your will, and that will enable you to control your physical activities. Your ki is truly your key to success. The concept of ki. The study of ki or chi began thousands of years ago when it was an important part of the samurai's training. Samurai were the warrior class of the feudal Japan. It was a hereditary and not an earned position. Although their training was intensive and precise, most Westerners imagine them as something like meditating mercenaries. While they were meditative and highly intellectual, they were far from mercenary. Their loyalty to their feudal lord was absolute. Should he die, either in battle or simply in his sleep, the samurais often killed themselves. As you can see, a samurai's employment was quite literally for life. These men would just as soon die as they would live. They made no distinction between a fight to the death and a game of cards. They lived the Buddha, or the warrior spirit life, and they were full of chi. In the Oriental description of the world, chi flows through and pulsates in everything. Chi may also be called universal energy, as distinguished from personal energy. But most importantly, chi is a force in your body, a force that you can direct and control. Chi is a force in your body, a force that you can use to direct and control your will. Remnants of this samurai's employment for life can be seen today in the much heralded Japanese ethic of lifetime employment. Considering the day-to-day vagaries of the modern American workplace, the economics and the politics, this attitude would require a focus of will that Westerners rarely accomplish. The Japanese achieved this focus through training in the use of Chi from childhood. This training is not so much as a classroom study as is a cultural undercurrent, much as the Christian work ethic underlies the schooling of Western children. Japanese feudal society was strict and regulated in a rigid caste system. If you were born a peasant, you would always be a peasant. If you were born an aristocrat, your child will become an aristocrat. Although it is true that these people had Ki available to them, not all the people had been trained in the methods to achieve its full potential in their life. Artists were trained to create great works of art using Chi. Peasants were trained to use their Chi to be happy in their work while doing their utmost in their endeavors. Aristocrats were trained to use Chi to serve the people and to administer the power with honesty and equality for all those less fortunate than themselves. Only the samurai received training in all aspects of the development of Chi, because their sole purpose was to protect the life of their lord. No power was withheld from them. For thousands of years, through transitions from imperial governments to military governments and back again, the samurai saved and served their lords. They distinguished themselves as great artists and leaders as well as great warriors. They were truly Renaissance men. After the reinstatement of the emperor in 1868, the samurai, who were as educated as well as the warrior class, took the reins of government and resolved to bring Japan to the technological level of the West, which was just undergoing the Industrial Revolution. The samurai government opened schools whose curriculums was based upon the samurai discipline of Budo, literally the way of the warrior, stressing loyalty to their master, bravery, Spartan living, literary accomplishments, and the understanding and the development of Chi. The power of this discipline, although somewhat diluted through dissemination to the masses, is easy to measure. Within one generation of Admiral Perry's opening of the Japanese ports in 1854, the Japanese were acknowledged as a major world power. And they were given a permanent seat on the Council of the League of Nations, a status equivalent to a permanent seat in the Security Council of the United Nations. Other examples serve as convincing illustrations. By the late 1870s, the cotton spinning industry had achieved an annual output of 2,000 bales. By 1889, the figure was 140,000 bales, an increase of 71 times in less than a decade. Within another decade, they had more than quintupled to 750,000 bales. The infrastructure shows similarly dramatic progress. In 1886, there were 430 miles of railroad tracks in Japan. Within 22 years, there were 9,000 miles. At the turn of the century, Japan had no shipbuilding capacity. Their warships were built in England. Between 1819 and 1932, Japanese shipbuilders built 41 battleships, 89 destroyers, and 71 submarines. I cannot deny that America had equally impressive growth during the same period, and they did so with no knowledge of Ki. But this growth also came as a result of westward expansion into areas rich with natural resources. There was a huge influx of immigration labor at this time. The Japanese, on the other hand, had no such increase in population nor material or mineral wealth. They accomplished this great leap of a mountainous group of islands. They accomplished this giant leap on a mountainous group of islands about the size of California. Nor do I mean to argue from these numbers that the Japanese accomplished this without help from the outside. Not at all. The British, the Americans, French, and Germans were quite busy in the Orient at the turn of the century, and the imperial government trained thousands of students abroad for training. But the dramatic progress reflects more than in technology, because the new ideas were implemented by people who had been to the West and people who had not been to the West. There was something else at work. Training in Chi developed an environment where doing your part, whatever it was getting results where the highest achievement was necessary. There was something else at work. Training in Qi developed an environment where doing your part, whatever it was getting results where the highest order was the order of achievement. At this point, you may feel both confused and skeptical. What is this Qi? And if it's so powerful, why weren't Westerners using it? Why aren't they using it now? Perhaps an example will help answer these questions. In the United States, when a health problem goes to a medical doctor, you're sick. In the United States, if you have a health problem, you go to a medical doctor. If the conditions are serious enough, the physician will prescribe surgery. Surgery is a medical specialty and has been around since the Dark Ages when it was practiced by barbers. A surgeon manually treats all manners of disorders that he or she may reach in your body through an incision and manipulation of the organ or some other blockage. The word surgery stems from a Greek word meaning working by hand. Development in surgery was slow until the 17th century when the reality of blood circulation was proven. In the 19th century, surgeons began using antiseptics for killing infection, causing bacteria, and as anesthesia for killing pain. It was not until the 1920s that blood transfusion came into common use. Westerners proudly point to these achievements as triumphs of the scientific method. In the Orient, during the same time, there developed a quite different therapeutic technique called acupuncture. The Chinese were using acupuncture as long as 5,000 years ago. But there is proof positive that it was extensively used from the 10th century on. Well, according to acupuncture theory, energy flows through your body along 14 meridians. Along these meridians, which are hundreds of points which correspond to different organs and body parts. Each organ can either be stimulated or sedated by inserting a needle into a precise point on this meridian. Once inserted, the needle is gently twirled to reverse the energy flow and eliminate the cause of the disease, which in effect is nothing more than an energy imbalance. Health in this system is the balance of opposing but complementary aspects of energy. The Taoist principle of yin and yang. The manipulation of this energy flow is manipulation of one's qi. Clearly, nothing about acupuncture depended upon any development in science.